Right, hello everybody. Today, this is one definitely for the entrepreneurs and any aspiring entrepreneurs that are listening and that perhaps are feeling a bit stressed out. You want to make money, you want to do good in the world, but perhaps you are kind of on the fence or there's some things holding you back. Then this is an episode you're absolutely going to love. So we're joined today by John Daniels, and I'd love to just start off by inviting you just to introduce yourself briefly to us.
Well, hey guys, firstly, thanks so much for having me on the show. Love what you guys are doing and removing stress. I mean, who doesn't want to have less stress in their lives? So I've been interesting. I feel like I live in these two worlds, like digital marketer, business owner, entrepreneur, and then also, wayward philosopher, spiritual kind of truth seeker. And for a long time, I felt like these two worlds were quite separate. And the way that, but recently it started to merge. So I have two main areas that I work in. I have my agency, which is the Lean Marketer, where I apply lean principles to marketing and help businesses in all sorts of industries make money. And then most recently, I started a group coaching program called Connected Impact, which we're going to start getting into, which I'll explain a little bit more of. But yeah, those are basically the two things that I'm up to at the moment.
Amazing.
Awesome. That's awesome. So before we kind of delve into those two things you're up to at the moment, can you share with our listeners a bit more about you, your story, any kind of pivotal moment, any struggles that have led you to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, born in South Africa, my parents got divorced quite early when I was 3. And that kind of, I learned very early on to kind of withdraw into myself and have these two worlds. There was like my internal world and there's the external world, these sort of shadows, right? Where I felt like everything that happened around me, I had to filter through this process of like, is this going to be good enough? Am I going to get into trouble? And it caused me to kind of question a lot of things and run everything through my own filter. So what that gifted me was like radical self-awareness. So I have a lot of conversations with myself, very aware of every single aspect of my personality. And so kind of growing up, going through school, through a lot of different schools as we moved around with my family, gave me a lot of different perspectives, like the idea of an objective truth. Every time I thought this is true, I think something would change, right? And it gave me this insight that there's, that there's objective truth, and then there's, what what Mind Valley called bullshit rules, right? Bullshit rules. So when I went into school, I was like, there's the way that they explain reality to you, and then there's the way it actually operates, which gave me kind of like a rule breaking sort of, I was a bit of an anarchist, smoked a lot of weed, asked a lot of questions, got accused of being a Satanist at one point, had demons cast out of me. But this continual curiosity of like, why are we here? What does it mean that we find ourselves alive in this place? Never really left me. When I left school, I was going to study psychology, but didn't want to be a psychologist because I was much more interested in what's going in my own head rather than trying to fix other people's stuff. I love video games, and I got this attached to this idea of upgrades. You can upgrade your character. And I thought, well, what if we could upgrade ourselves? I heard that, you only use 10% of our brains. I'm like, what's in the rest of it? Like, how do we get in there? And, doing LSD, I think, helped a little bit, where I was just like, kind of blew the world wide open, and God kind of spoke to me and said, like, it's all you. Everything that you see, like, is basically all just a reflection of you. And I was like, wow, this is super crazy. But as I left school, didn't go study psychology. I thought I'll go and I'll do a few short computer courses while I decide what I want to do. And did what is the MCSE, the Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer curriculum back then. And they showed you how to assemble systems, how to assemble computer systems. And then as soon as I finished that, I immediately got hired by the training center to teach the stuff back. And I was like, I got my first job sort of 12 months out of school. And I was like, the whole narrative of like, work hard, get good grades, go to university so you can get a job was suddenly completely blown out of the water. And I was like teaching guys like twice my age about this stuff. And I was like, this makes no sense. But it's also, the money still spends. People will still pay me for this stuff. So this idea of systems kind kind of started to crystallize for me. But all the time there was this parallel of technical systems, but then also human systems. In the system space, if you're into like the internet works on TCP/IP, or a bit too technical, but you have this thing called the OSI reference model, which is basically just, you get to think about these things of layers, like the physical stuff at the bottom, the application is at the top, and in the middle stuff. And you're kind of trained to find out where in the stack things are broken. In parallel, I was also learning about the Kabbalah and about the tree of life. And it has a similar stack where, potential energy is at the top and physical reality is at the bottom, and things are trying to get through, and you're trying to remove the constraint. Right? So when I studied digital marketing, when I came across digital marketing, I was like, here's a system where it's the same fundamental information. It's the same systems, but if you do it just right, businesses are fundamentally improved. And I was hooked. I was like, yes. This is like training wheels for, I think the internet is like training wheels for unity consciousness. Like it's in the yoga or the mystic traditions, you have this idea of the Akashic record, where we're all, connected subconsciously to all the human knowledge. And we all ultimately are part of one human consciousness, which is kind of a little bit hard to wrap your head around. And then Facebook comes along, and you're like, oh great, we're all connected.
Not quite in the same way that they were referring to.
I know, but it's it's training wheels, right? It's these ideas that as I've always just considered that so more and more I'm starting to see the parallels between these things, that it's not, that they're not separate. And if you really get into the spiritual truth underneath everything, like where's God not? Yeah. Okay. It's not like there's technology and spirituality. They're actually all spirituality. It's not like there's business and money and your life. They're all kind of the same. Like when you get right down to it, it's all made of the same stuff.
Definitely. I think that merging of the two is so important, because essentially that's pretty much the journey most people go on, right? Is they're figuring out where they fit into the world, in essence. And we are taught in systems, right, from the school system, from societal systems and things like that, and then how you then flip that and turn it inwards becomes a whole kind of different conversation if we allow it. But when you get to marry the two, it becomes really, really powerful. It's funny you talked about the layers there, because one of the things that we use in one of our models is our stress awareness pyramid, which is about people literally experiencing stress on 3 different levels. We have the life level, where we essentially are, reacting to life. We've got our work, we've got our family, we've got our finances, all the life areas. In the middle, you've got the health, and then at the bottom, you've got like the root, the foundation of it all. So what we've done with kind of the way that we work with people is a little bit like how you actually described your like IT systems. I'm not sure if that's quite the right word, but your systems is like almost like figuring out, okay, well, where is the opportunity? Where is the area here that needs to be reconnected or recoded or whatever, so that we can actually start to hit home in the right area? And essentially it all leads into each other, doesn't it? So I'm really curious to know, how have you personally navigated those two kind of worlds opposing each other, as in this kind of like your own spiritual journey, and trying to almost, in essence, try to fit that into what you believed and how you saw the world in a sense through kind of the work that you do? Because I'm going to assume, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that could actually be like really frustrating, actually quite scary, quite disorientating when you're not quite sure, well, I've been taught this over here and this works so simply, almost like it's a program and so logical, but this over here doesn't seem that way. So I'm curious to know, one is, how did you feel with that kind of conflict that was happening before you've now realized that it's all one? And how did you navigate that?
It's a great question. So, the way it felt like before it all sort of snapped into place was that it was an unwinnable game, right? That it's like, you pull one string and then, it's like a big knot. You pull one thing and then 3 things get stuck, and you pull this thing and 3 other things get stuck. And you just do, effort did not equal progress in any way, shape or form, right? And like the more effort I seemed to put into it, the less things started to work, right? So it's just like, just there were a lot of conflicts. And that's what it felt like. It felt like, why am I working so hard and not making any money? Like, you know, and especially when I started comparing, like, you know, all my friends and things like that have jobs and they're already bought a house, or they're already, you know, it's like you look at the Instagram lifestyle of other people and be like, oh, you know, they seem to have everything going on and I don't, you know, like, why am I so confused? Right? Why am I working so hard? You know, and a lot of self-doubt, I think. And then, so the way it kind of collapsed into some kind of, you know, the way I understand it now. And, you know, I'll caveat by saying that I don't think it ever really finishes. Okay. But this is typically the way I see it now, right? So if you think about from your like the business side, you know, you essentially have your target market and your unique value proposition, right? Here are the people that I want to help, and this is how I help them. Where does that come from, right? How do we do that? Now, if you flop to the other side about being confused, right? Typically, this is the universe gives us these gifts, but are disguised as problems, all right? So the universe will come in and give you, you know, a problem, like a big problem. Sometimes it's trauma, sometimes it's a situation, sometimes, and then it fucks you up for a while. Okay. But if you're able to metabolize that and get to the other side of that, each of the, like when I talked about my origin story, like my parents got divorced, you know, I dropped out of school, I had some businesses which then were bankrupt, like, and then had to start again, like all sorts of these things happened to me. But the flip side of that, there's an equal and opposite blessing if you're open to it. Okay. And that means where the spiritual bit starts to come in, where if it's all in balance, for every trauma, there's an equal and opposite yet unacknowledged blessing. Right? And that's the work to go, okay, something bad happens, you suffer a little bit until you see the unexpected gift, and then you jump up a level. But as you do that, it enables you to turn around and help other people encountering a similar challenge do the same. Right? So that's where, to me, your unique value proposition comes from. All the bumps that we've gone on our journey gives our energy a unique flavor. Right? So that's the game. You connect to the light, you bring it down, you spread it around. But the unique shape that we have by our own little bumpy journey allows us to access it in a specific way and transmit it in a certain way, in a way that certain people are uniquely positioned to receive it. Okay. So to me, like, that's when marketing works, is when you're connecting to the people that are uniquely attuned to be able to receive the thing that you've just got. Right?
100%.
No, I love what you said about obviously connecting to the light, bringing it down, and then sharing it out. And I think that's the bit that most people get the other way around, is when they're in that field trying to start a business or whatever they're doing, it's focusing on the systems and everything first. It's I need to get this in place. I need to get this in place. And then afterwards, okay, now then how do I connect to that light? How do I connect to that purpose, that mission, and bring it down? I think, no, that's your first step, because until you connect with that and bring it in and bring it down, you don't know what you need to do. You don't know what people need. You don't know how you can help people. So I love how you said that connect to the light first, bring it in, bring it down, and then spread it about, share it, and then start to put your systems in place, your processes, and start to think, okay, how can I actually help people now? Now I've connected with this, how can I help people? Instead of how can I do all these back end things first, and then once I've done, I'm set up, okay, now what do I do now? It's like there's nothing to do. It's like no one to help.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that starts to speak to some of the friction with this whole game, is that, like, that, you know, you guys talk about that pyramid, or like the systems that you're building on. You know, I've worked with loads of startups with, you know, businesses on the business side, and what they do is they spend millions of dollars, build some amazing tech in the dark, and then run around and try and say, hey, people, buy my awesome thing. Okay. And we do this the same as, you know, spiritual people. You study an NLP course, and then you want to go and tell people about how cool NLP is. So you do somatic healing, and you want to go tell people about how cool somatic healing is, right? Whereas my encouragement is you flip this on its head, right? You start off with people that you care about, that have interesting problems and money. Okay. And then you go and hang out with them and ask them where they want to go and what's in the way. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And out of that, they'll tell you, this is where I am, this is what I want to be, and what's in the way. And when that problem, that what's in the way, is the foundation of where you start to direct your service, is to say, this is how I can use my unique gift, often hard earned, to enable that process to happen faster.
100%.
And my encouragement is to validate that. You do that one-on-one first. No funnels, no tech, no systems. You just one-to-one human conversations.
Yeah.
Until you earn money. Okay. Leave all the tech alone. I love tech, but the tech, it comes after that.
Absolutely.
You want market validation, which is from the tech side, right? Is that once you've got product market fit, in other words, you validated the thing that you're doing, you can't figure it out yourself. It needs to be reflected in the words and the experience of the people that you're serving. And once they're
so interesting that you say that. Now we've just been interviewed for Arabian Business, and that was one of the kind of questions, is like what is what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make? And it's like they're bringing to market something they think that people want. They're not actually meeting the market where they are in order to be able to actually start to speak their language and start to understand their needs and their desires and the problems, and really get into that. One of my mentors, the guys over at Dent Global, definitely anybody listening should look those guys up, is about, you should have a PhD in their problem. Like, you should be able to explain their problem to them better than them before you even start doing anything else. So I completely hear you when you're talking about that. And I love that, because too many people get paralyzed by the tech and by the system and how big it could all be. And like you said earlier, it's like comparing to how other people are doing things. And that really is like a total waste of this beautiful life force energy that we have. And it's really essential to start channeling that as well as they can. And that first point, of course, I so love that you said that, is speaking to people, actually getting out of your own head and your own way and stepping into that.
The one bit that everyone leaves for last.
If at all.
If at all. Well, we made that same mistake when we first started out. We, again, built everything what we think people need. I spent hours and days and months and time and effort and money. And then it got to the point of people don't actually need this. Like,
well, they needed it, but not in the way
they needed it, but not in the way we, exactly. Yeah. It's like, okay, back to the drawing board. And it's like, well, and then, okay, we need to start with people first and then build up from that. And it's just so powerful. I think anyone listening, if you're thinking about starting anything, it's like you say, people first. Don't worry about fancy websites and the many expensive tech and products and all this. Go to the people first, find out what they want, what they need, and go from there and start to build it out from the center in, from center out person, build it out.
It's interesting that you used the word self-doubt earlier there, John, because that's also another big thing that will hold people back, right? Is either they've got this idea in their head that they think people want, they'll either go away and work on it, or they will not do either and get stuck in that place of self-doubt. So how did you start to overcome any self-doubt perhaps that you experienced in those earlier years?
I talk to people.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that's, that is it's the ultimate hack. And it sounds simple, but I'll expand on it on a number of different levels. All right. Is that if I feel that I am, like, my stuff's not any good, best thing to do is pick up the phone and talk to a client. Just check on how they're doing, right? Because it suddenly grounds you in the reality of what's actually going on, and you remember what it's all about. Okay, so that's like the one thing. The second one is that if like the second part of that is that if you think about, I mean, there's a series I watched on like SAS, like the SAS training, right?
Yeah.
Where they put these people in these like ridiculous situations and stuff, right? But the thing that gets people going, the things that people get through that, is not how fit they are or any of that. It's the strength of their why, the strength of their reason. Okay, because as much as it's all about us, it's not about you. Okay, it's about the mission. And the mission is to help a certain number of people get from here to there. That's what you leave behind. You can't take anything with you. It's the impact that you that you leave behind. That's all. It's the memories. It's the people that you touch, right? So that, like, when you're looking for the motivation, it's not always, yes, you get it from within you, but it's generated from connecting to the people that you care about. That's your family, your people, your tribe, your people. You know, that's why I say, like, talk to people.
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
the third aspect to that is, generally, if you're feeling some sort of doubt, especially if it's about a person, just phone them. One of my mentors said to me, I mean, I worked with him at an agency, and I was like, I'm feeling bad about this client. He said, phone them immediately. It doesn't matter what's going on. Like, just phone them. It's often a signal from the universe that there's something going on and they're thinking about you, and you phone them immediately. So that's my antidote to all of that, is just to kind of connect. The antidote to self-doubt. It's generally I'm making some kind of echo chamber in my mind that's not based on facts. Okay.
So glad you mentioned that.
It's based on stories that I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
And the fastest way to collapse that is just, reach out to the people that are in your, it's all about the who, not the why, not the how. The who comes first. Like, who are my people? Like, who are my people? What do they want? What's in the way? And then all the other stuff comes after that.
Nice.
Definitely, absolutely. That's, again, it just comes back down, I think, down to that same message we've been speaking about so far is people first. And what I'd like to kind of go into now is kind of one of the things that you do, which the thing that you made your name on, which is the lean marketer, and you're the co-founder of Connected Impact. So what is that? Tell us a little bit more about that. What does that mean?
I'll talk a bit about the lean marketer. So I did digital marketing for 15 years, and I did it, based on Google ads, ran an agency, worked in agencies, did all kinds of stuff, but it kind of came at me in a lot of unstructured way. So I was looking for a concept, like an organizing framework to actually help businesses make money, like have effect. So when I came across the lean framework, especially the lean startup and the lean canvas, which kind of breaks down all of the different marketing components into customer problem solution, and then the marketing things are channels. And what that unlocked for me, for first while, I thought about more success equals more marketing. And I thought that I would have more impact make more money, have more impact by learning more marketing stuff. Right? But with the, but I found that the facts don't bear that out. Right? You speak to an SEO person, they're always like, more SEO. And a Facebook person is like, more Facebook. That's always the answer. But I've worked with more than 400 different companies, from funded tech startups in Silicon Valley to, like an electrician from the corner. So a lot of different companies, a lot of different frameworks, and I can still, and people would have various different budgets to say, make stuff happen. So it was like, when I initially thought it was, more marketing. And I got the privilege of being able to spend lots of other people's money trying all sorts of different configurations of things, do more ads, like tens of thousands of dollars a month on Google ads, see if you can make the needle move, right? Like crazy stuff. I mean, the amount of money that's out there, the amount of money that gets wasted is absolutely crazy. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to work with some, really big brands, really big, like high profile startups, but also kind of small to medium businesses as well, and also one-man bands. And with the lean framework, started to see what are the fundamental building blocks in that. What are the things that actually move? And basically the key metric is, to what, here's your target market, the people you care about, and ideally they should have problems and money. Okay. Like there's lots of good you can do in the world, but if you want to run a business, it's people with problems and money. And then to what extent is your marketing intersecting with those people? Right. That's like the key metric of success. Everything else comes after that. Are you addressing the pain points of those people, and are you building a bridge to help them get from here to there? So that's kind of my journey with that, and it allows me to continue to scratch my career, my itch on building systems and finance. I'm endlessly fascinated with just how people make money. But how Connected Impact got born was, two trigger events. One was my father dying. He struggled for a long time with Parkinson's and Lewy body dementia, and eventually died pretty much broke. But my stepmom looked after him, and it was like, really, a lot of crazy trigger stuff. But as I've said, there's always an equal and opposite benefit if you're open to it, right? And the message that came through for me out of all of that was, don't die with the best stuff left inside of you. Right? It was like a clear message from the universe. Like my dad kind of came back and spoke to me, and he was like, son, this is my message. I was like, fuck, okay. So I was like, okay, what is my best stuff? What is my best stuff? And then the other thing was, COVID and the whole lockdown thing, so suddenly I lost all my clients during the first lockdown, and I was sitting there scratching my navel with this message saying, what is your best stuff? And it caused me to really ask some good questions about, like, who do I actually, if I can do all of this marketing stuff, who am I here to serve? Right? Because within the lean framework, you have this idea of constraints. If people over here, their happy place over there, you're building a bridge. In your marketing system is, there's a lot of moving parts: awareness, consideration, action, leads, sales, delivery, referral, right? There's a continuum. And look at that, and your efforts are about removing the constraint. Okay, somewhere in that system, there's like the smallest gap. And if you can open that gap, it looks as if the whole system goes faster. All right. Now you can move anywhere except for that gap, and nothing will really change. Okay. So, kind of doing less, but not more. So when I looked at, like, why am I here? Who do I care about? I looked at, like, the planet and going, okay, where's the constraint that I particularly care about? And to me, there's, things are in the world, things are happening faster. Good things happening faster, bad things happening faster. I believe mostly more good things, even though they get way less press.
Yeah.
Because good things tend to happen slowly, bad things tend to happen fast. Like footage of a tree growing in the forest, super boring. No one will watch that stuff. Footage of a tree getting chopped down, panic and pandemonium. Yeah. So lots of good stuff is happening, but at the same stuff, also a lot of bad stuff. A lot of challenging things, opportunities. And I think there's a big awakening going on right now where people are going, shit, there's a bigger game here. It's the internet, spirituality, all sorts of things. People are realizing that it's not just about me. We're part of a global community, and there is a bigger message here. There is a better life based on your choice if you want it. Right. Now, within that, there's a certain number of people that have woken up. Like I see, if I visualize the planet, there's these people, like I see these bright sparks kind of going, like I'm waking up, they're connecting to the light, and they're starting to spread it around. And they're looking for help, they're looking for resources. I call them the light bringers. Okay. So, because they're connecting to light, they're facilitating this change. How that manifests is, coaches, practitioners, things that are waking up, they're ejecting from the old system, they're starting to create a new system, a new business for themselves. They want to help and facilitate that transformation. They're accessing their gifts and they want to start giving them to the world. And I thought, how do we make this go faster? Right? Like, what happens if we could create 1 million conscious millionaires? Right? If we could take all of those people that were waking up and wanting to get their coaching gig going, their healing gig going, how can we build a bridge for those people to blast through abundance and be able to live the life of their dreams? Okay, so that became the question I was asking. I started to apply all of my marketing stuff to that customer segment. Like, what are you interested in? Like, what is the friction? Like, okay, technology is a friction. Okay, cool, that's interesting. Trying to earn money is some friction, interesting. Self-doubt, loneliness, right? Because if you're a business owner, it's a pretty lonely existence by itself. Being a business owner with a spiritual path as well, there's even less people you can talk to about your stuff, the stuff. Like most of the friends you had, they generally don't get it. And even the ones that are your friends will try and protect you from what they perceive as very risky behavior.
Yeah.
Okay. So Connected Impact was my passion project to say, how do we build the system? How do we make that whole thing go faster? And I started to build, using all my marketing stuff to understand what is the pathway. How do we assemble that trajectory in a way that is the most, avoids most of the bullshit and allows people to, self-actualize, to get freedom, right? Think about what your why is. Most people, they want freedom. They want to be able to live life on their own terms. That's why they left their corporate job. That's why they left the other stuff. And to me, how I measure that is £100,000 a year, £10,000 a month. Okay. Well, £10,000 a month and 2 months off. Okay. Okay. Like, it's a nice round number, and it's easy enough to get to, at that level of income, there's probably more than you need, but I'm like, I'd rather overdo it. But it's at that level, people stop, they stop going, why are you doing that thing? And going, what are you doing there? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that's the, like, yeah, let's solve the hell out of this problem. And also, in my last tax year, I had £100,000. So I feel like, okay, I've just done this, and guess what? I'm going to turn around now and go, this is how I did it. But avoid the stuff. It doesn't need to take you 20 years. Okay? This is the stuff I want to do to make it go faster. So Connected Impact is, it's a community with resources. So so there's a couple of things in there. So if people want to, on the spiritual path and want to make money, this is the place I want you to come hang out, and let's go faster.
I really, really love what you do, and obviously a big part of what you do and a big part of your message and your mission is about doing good, right? It's like you said, it's about helping people that bring in the light so that they can have that ripple effect and you can essentially see a change in the world. But I want to touch on something that you just said there about potentially like one of the obstacles in the way for somebody is the idea of actually making money in the first place. And something I've definitely seen and toyed with myself as well is like, at what point, like there's this conflict of wanting to make money but then wanting to also give it all away for free. And I've seen that this is such a trend and it's like such a block for a lot of people to move into action. So I'd really be curious to kind of hear your take on that.
So it's interesting. I mean, there's people that have money behave differently to people that don't. Okay, right. So I keep in like the foundation of a business is people with problems and money. Okay, so we as do-gooders, we want to give it all away for free. Okay, but we also need to earn money. So there's people in the world that have money and problems, and people in the world that have no money and also problems. And we tend to want to help these people and try and make a living out of this. Okay, this is counterintuitive. Like mathematically, it does not make sense. Okay, so my whole approach to this is to say, let's help these people that have problems and money. Because if you think about the different gateways, like the first increment is about $20,000 or £20,000 a year, at which point you are no longer poor. Okay, you're not worried about homeostasis. Okay. The next increment is about 80,000, right? At which point you can buy all the toys, you can do all of those things. At that point, money stops being a motivator for happiness. Okay, so my question is, what do those people want? Okay, they're a great question. And this is what we talk about, people with problems and money, right? What they want generally is more time or some kind of experience or some kind of perspective, right? They've got money. What they don't have is a way of feeling better, a way of de-stressing, a way of dealing with that persistent internal conflict, right? A way of associating with people that they care about. And this is what, as spiritual people, have been put on this earth to do, to facilitate that transition, right? So, like, think about, so my whole mission is, my model is to say, spend a small portion of your time providing kick-ass experiences for people that have more money than they need. What do they, I mean, if you made $1 million a year, like, what would you spend your money on? I mean, probably experiences, right? Okay, so this is kind of how I unpack it, is that people that have money want other things. They want things to go faster. And that if you build your business in that kingdom, it allows you to create those transformations. Do one-to-one high-value stuff, and then take those models and basically sell it, then build it. Get paid to build the frameworks, build the infrastructure that you can then give away to people that don't have money. So it's two different missions. One is, if you want to solve the money game, because money is just energy, right? We have if you don't have enough, it has a very icky, like, kind of energy to it. Get that regularly. Okay. Like, make money, spend it all, and then go back to scarcity and panic, and then have to make more, and it's a thing. But if you have more money than you need, especially if you're talking to people that have disposable income, right? Because companies that make a profit have a budget for personal development. They have a budget for staff well-being. They have a budget for marketing. And it's money that's allocated that needs to be spent on that stuff. Right? Okay, they have to get rid of it, otherwise it gets taken away. Right? So there's all this spare money out there that's been earmarked for exactly what you're doing. My encouragement is go and help that get done and get spent responsibly and deliver that result. Because if what you're doing is worth more than you're selling, and it's part of what I'm teaching in Connected Impact, is how to articulate that. Just build a bridge so that people can get from here to there. Right? If you can help a stressed out CEO get 8 hours of his weekend back, how much would he pay for that if his salary is $2 million a year?
Exactly.
Probably some portion of that. What else is he going to spend on? He wants to get time with his family back. All right. And if that coaching program costs £2,000 or £10,000, it's just sitting in a bank account there, and he's earmarked it for that stuff anyway. And I think where people, where this trauma comes from is past triggered, from my own experiences, is I tend to think people think about money the same way I did when I didn't have any. Right, which is it's just not true. Whereas it all comes down to spending time with the people that you actually want to help and understand what their mission is.
Absolutely. So I completely obviously agree. Like I had that old school mentality about money is like it's hard to get, there's not enough of it. But then when you're doing something that has an impact in the world and you're trying to help more people, money becomes a vital resource to help more people. And it's like it's not evil. It's basically what you do with the money that counts. Is you want to help more people, earn more money. You can impact the world in a bigger way. When you, like you said, you see money as energy. It's a resource. It's not the be all and end all. It's a resource to what you want to do, who you are, and how you're showing up in the world. So my question to you is like, if I came to you, I've got all these big plans, I want to impact the world in a big way, but I'm struggling to earn money. How would you help me?
The first thing I would work on is your offer. Okay, so that's the foundation of all of these things. Before you build any tech, before any of these things, and there's kind of a couple of elements to the offer. Two most important ones is who are the people you want to help, and what is the transformation you're facilitating for them. Okay, like I want to help these people get from here to there without that. All right, and that's where you start off with that. It doesn't take any money to start sketching that out and say, based on my life experiences, these are the skills that I have. Who can I help and get from here to there? And then think, what would they spend? I call it the magic wand number. If you could guarantee that they would get there, what's it worth to them to make that change? And your pricing, because you can start with around about 20% of that. Okay. Rough guess. And then you go out and start talking to those people and ask them, where are you now? Where do you want to be? What's in the way? Do you want help? If you want help, this is what help looks like. This is what help costs. When do you want to start? Repeat. Okay. It's the repeat that people, that you just repeat. And each time you do that, it's going to get clearer. It's going to get clearer. And when people start saying yes, the money problem starts to become, it still takes work. And I think, there's a kind of like a toxic positivity thing that's like, oh, all I need to do is meditate and I'll make lots of money. Bullshit. Okay. I think running a business is one of the most triggering things you can do. Yeah. It's going to bring up all your trauma. It's going to bring up all your bullshit. But I think that's why I love it as a spiritual journey, because it's easy to be spiritual in the absence of resistance. Yeah. Okay. But building a business triggers all of those things. And then that's where you start to be a product of the product. You start to be able to model the way. And I think those are the kind of people that the world needs right now. Fucking warriors. Okay. That can stand in the fire and not get burnt and say, cool, the world can be going shit around me, but it's still just, I'm still here. As long as the inside of my skin is intact, we can operate. There's space. We can do things.
And create your own reality, not living in societal reality or what
exactly
governments and society kind of imposes on you. This is how you should live. This is something's happened in the world. This is how you're supposed to react. No, I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah,
and make a difference. You can keep building.
Exactly. You start to react instead of respond and not react.
I love, John, how you bring it back to the basics in many ways that people forget or try to move quickly over. Right, because it's everything obviously that we've already discussed so far today, from being led by your own light, and then what does that look like, and then relating it to the people, the problem, where are they, do they have the money, all of those things, and then the offer. And I think the real power and the real work happens when people have the courage to continually show up, even after perhaps the first 6 months. They don't suddenly arrive at where it is they think they're going to arrive in their own mind. So what would you say to somebody that might be listening to this and is actually thinking, do you know what, maybe I'm not cut out for this? At what point do I throw in the towel? How do I keep that courage to stand in the fire?
I mean, I take it always back to first principles. It's like, you're going to die. Okay. All right. Fact. Okay. All right. Until now and then, opportunity. Okay. Now you can do something with that time. Whatever you want to do with it, whatever you want to do with the time. And when you start to think about it in that sort of finite space, what do you want to fill that time with? And do you how dedicated are you really to doing this thing? And if you would literally rather die than pursue your purpose, then we've got something something to build on. And from there, it's then from your purpose to who, and connecting with who who are you spending time with, who are you speaking to sort of client-wise, and kind of mapping out this journey to £100,000 a month. I mean, that's my personal goal now. I'm still working that out, but £100,000 a year. I mean, realistically, it's about 3 years. I have seen people do it faster. I could probably do it a lot, like way faster. But like, I'd probably say slow the hell down. Okay. Like, a destination, direction is more important than velocity.
Yeah.
You can still there's incremental wins along the way. It's not like, oh, one day when I get this thing, then it'll finally happen. I've tried to map out the roadmap as best I can, but leaving out the gaps. But it still takes work. Yeah. It still takes work, and I think if you're going to do this because you're running away from something, you probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Running a business is hard. It's totally worth it. But it's I don't know. One part of me is like, oh, it'll all be easy, it'll all be fine, I have all the answers, and it's like, nah. I think that the truth is that the journey is not about having some kind of shortcuts that the problems become smaller. All right. It's more about the journey of who do you need to become so that the problems become insignificant. Like, yes, I have a group program. Yes, I've simplified the technology stack. Yes, I can show you how to do lead generation without any ads and all that sort of stuff, which is great. But at some point, you're still going to encounter some kind of resistance within yourself. And I think that's the journey. If you're addicted to the journey of becoming bigger, of becoming more, of being able to contain more power, that is the exciting thing. Then I think, you're going to do it anyway. Like, nothing's going to stop you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's so funny because that's so true in all areas of life. We speak about that with our clients all the time. It's like, who are you choosing to show up as in this moment, in the next moment? What are you intentionally putting into your future, into your present moment? How are you showing up? Because what you just said there is about who you become. It's that's the truth of it all, isn't it? Really, I think, because and I love so much that you brought it back to our own mortality. Honestly, every time that, because it makes you really think and stop you in tracks and be like, okay, if I had like a year to live, what would I be doing? If I had 10 years and I knew, what would I be doing? How would I want to live? If I was hit by a truck tomorrow, am I proud of what I've achieved until now, or what at least I'm working towards? And I think the answer is yes to that, you're already winning, you're already successful regardless of the number in the bank account. So I think it's about blazing that trail, isn't it, in the first place?
Yeah. And I think so then it's blazing that trail, then building, once you start there, it's like one-to-one, understanding what are the people that you need to help. But then to me, building a business is ultimately building that bridge so that it operates even without you.
Yeah.
All right. So that it'll keep doing it even after you've gone. And I think that's the difference between like being a healer and being a business, building a system that enables you to scale that transformation.
Exactly. You're living a legacy. Yeah. So you leave that legacy that lives beyond you. And that still helps people after you've gone as well. Yeah. And that's the power behind it, it just carries on. And you see that in so many amazing, influential people that are no longer with us anymore. their work just carries on. You keep hearing their name everywhere. Their work keeps popping up everywhere. And that's the power of that legacy, is you're building something that is going to outlive everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, the opportunity.
Definitely. Awesome. So just before, I also want to be conscious of your time as well, because I know you've got another appointment, but before you leave us, is there anything else you feel our listeners really need to know from you? Any kind of final words of wisdom before we close off this conversation?
I mean, we've covered a lot of well, I wrote here next to things, connect to the endpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean is by that is, you know, we tend to think of, you know, this building a mission, you know, building a business, you know, delivering impact as something that's happening over there. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like a counterintuitive of trap, is that it's not about, you know, you know, is that if you imagine the person who you are over there and bring that person into today, then you start enjoying that now, right? Start showing up as that person now. You don't need to wait to be happy. You don't need to wait to be successful. Once you understand and once you claim that purpose, it's like it's already there, and now you get to enjoy the process. So I think that's the piece I would want to connect with. This is the way and the energy that you bring to all of this stuff. It's not like, don't let success be over there. Like, win every day. You know, give yourself permission to be like, you're already a winner. Like, you're a child of God. You're a direct manifestation of the infinite creative energy that created everything. Right. So start there. Like, just give yourself permission to just, you know, act from there.
Nice.
And then enjoy the process.
Awesome.
When you start embodying it, that's when you start to realize that it really is kind of like 80% energy, 20% strategy, right? And to a point, to a point, that doesn't mean you like just
meditate,
chill,
but also send invoices. You know,
exactly.
Exactly. You know, you can meditate while you're sending invoices. You know, it's like they're all part of the
Exactly.
same
It can all work together. I love it. Listen, John, where can our listeners find you?
I mean, the jumping off point, if you're interested in this journey, for me, you know, the whole 80-20 of the entire process is, you know, conversations with people with money, people with problems and money. And out of all the social media stuff, LinkedIn is the place to start, because it's the easiest place to go and find those people, in my experience, because you can literally see their faces and what they do and just reach out and start talking to them. So to me, if you're interested in that journey, if you're interested in kind of what I'm doing, connectedimpact.online is the website. And there's a free course, a free LinkedIn course there for, you know, spiritual people to get started on. There's a free course. That's the best place. That's the best place to start. You go and start there. Everything else will kind of take care of itself. You'll join from there my newsletters. You'll get invited to events. I do an event every Thursday, some free training on some aspect of what I call the Conscious Business Accelerator System, the path to 100K. And yeah, honestly, that's the best place to start. That's my main focus right now. LinkedIn obviously is a great place to connect with me. Yeah. Search for me, John Daniels. And yeah, I'm all about like, find it. Like one thing, do one thing.
So pick one thing. Anyone listening, pick one thing. I love it.
Pick one thing, and that's go and join the course. Go and get the course, and that's the trigger. It will kick everything else off from there.
Yeah, we'll put all those links in the show notes for anyone who's watching or listening, so they can easily find everything you've just mentioned there.
Super. John, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for hopping on and giving us your insights. I think it's really going to help our listeners to do good and make more money, which is a win-win for everybody when there's positive intent behind it.
Fantastic. I love you guys' energy. Thank you so much for having me, and I really support your mission. And yeah, see you on the beaches of the world.